Whoa, I'm alive. Hey there, we're here. Whoa, what am I doing? Hey, stick around. We're going to be talking about traffic and what'd you call them? Psychedelics. Stick around. Don't go away. Hi, this is Casey, and I'm not. If you don't know who I am, you're going to have to find out. I'm not going to tell you who I am. Look at that, Mr. Mystery. I got an attitude today, don't I?
It's all because of the drive. Yeah, the traffic.
Yes, I'm going to tell a story about traffic. On the way here, there was this little old lady, and I know she was a lefty because her whole back was full of bumper stickers. Is that fair to say that, or is that racist, or leftist, or rightist?
Ideologist.
Ideologist? I'm an ideologist. And she was in the left lane, and I was in the middle lane, and we're going to make the turn. And now she decides she needs to be in the far right lane. So she cuts in front of everybody like a lunatic. And forgive her for she knows not what she does. She's an older lady. At first I thought I was just an idiot. Because they're out there.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about the traffic stuff. It's like, how come people don't know that slower traffic keep right, and then the fast people that want to speed and get tickets can go in the left lane? But then there's people that want to be in the left to stop them. I know you're going to bring up California, right?
No, I was going to bring up the fact that whenever I've driven across the country, no one follows those rules anymore. You know how you used to flash your lights at people behind you to telling them, hey, get over.
Right.
You'd flash your lights. Oh, yeah, nobody pays attention.
That's because now they'll pull a gun on you.
Well, no, it's just nobody. It's like nobody knows this etiquette of what that means because they don't teach it in driver's ed.
Well, three things I put on the graphics was slower traffic, keep right. Yield does not mean stop.
Yes.
And use your blinker.
Does not mean stop.
And use your blinker. Well, that was the third one. But
yeah.
I didn't say nothing about zipper merging. That's a whole nother deal. About
oh my gosh.
Zipper merging to prevent people from going.
Don't talk about zipper merging, man. Zipper merging. The Minnesotans are like some of the worst about that. And period.
That's because they don't know that it works when you go to the very end and everybody just kind of goes together. They don't understand that. So what they do is they pull over the right.
You go first. You go first. You go first. You go first. That's what happens in Minnesota. And then finally they're like, I'm going first because you didn't wait. You waited all the way till the last minute. And it's like, you're supposed to wait till the last minute.
Right. That's when and I never understood that. I thought, why doesn't everybody get over? I didn't understand. So I understand where all these people are coming from. They don't understand either. But when you all wait till the end, we all know that's the place to merge.
So about 15 years ago on the news, they had just finished extending the 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was, yeah. Or it was extending the 169. I don't know. They extended both of those right about the same time. So anyhow, they had just finished extending it, and they added in a new place because of construction season and everything else. They started doing some more work, and they were talking about on the news the zipper merge. They actually had State Highway Patrol come on and talk about how to do the zipper merge. Their lead-in was the statistic that Minnesota is actually the worst at zipper merging.
Oh,
they actually talked about
one.
So they had every single station. I'm not even kidding you. It was literally every single station talked about zipper merging and how to zipper merge and how to merge traffic when going onto a freeway, because they were like, Minnesotans are literally the worst at merging.
And we still don't know.
And yeah, and it didn't help. It didn't help because literally 2 weeks later, I was merging onto, it was somewhere on Minnehaha.
Yeah.
I was out going on Minnehaha, and I was driving, and they had one lane shut down, and I had to merge onto the other lane. And this guy next to me decided he was mad because I waited till the end, which is where you're supposed to merge, is when your lane is running out.
Right.
That's
I'm glad
when
you
you're supposed to
understand
merge.
that, because a lot of people just don't get it.
Exactly. So I'm going and I'm getting ready to merge, and this guy in this truck goes like all aggressively, and I'm like, whatever. I don't have a lane, and I'm coming in and I'm coming in. And he's flipping me off and getting all angry. He's like, "Fuck you!" hanging out his window, and he's screaming and yelling, and he wasn't going to let me on. And I just looked over, and I was like, I don't have a lane. I'm just going to keep going. And if you want to hit me, that's totally cool. Because in this scenario, you're the person as I fall. And he's out the window, so he can hear me. I'm like, I'm just going to keep going. And if you hit me, that's cool because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do in traffic. You're not, which means you're at fault. So here we go. I just smiled and kept going. Needless to say, finally he backed off.
I thought that would be a good public service thing, that they show that on TV on a regular basis of what to do and how to do certain things, and like to use your signal. And don't use your signal when you're already in the lane. Use your signal as soon as it hits your head. And as soon as you think left, hit the left signal, and then we all know what you're thinking.
Right. So it's actually, there is a rule of thumb, not more than 1,000 feet.
I know there's a rule of thumb, but there's also the another one is tailgate. If people would not tailgate, there wouldn't be any accidents.
You'd also be able to zipper merge easier.
Exactly.
Because there's 2 car lengths there.
Yes. And then the other one is, and the thing is, don't, when you come to a yield sign, don't stop. If there's traffic, stop. But if there's no traffic, don't stop. It's yield.
Right.
It's a spelling thing. S-T-O-P, and yield is spelled different. I don't even know how to spell it. Y-E-I-L-D? Is it I before E except after Y? Okay, let's move on. Anyways, that was my rant, and I think that I'm curious what kind of traffic we get off this when I split it up and YouTube it and stuff, because maybe there'll be a lot of really cool things, and maybe it'll get a lot of traffic, because I know that a lot of people don't. They have their own opinions of traffic.
Everybody has their own opinions of traffic, but the thing really goes back to, if you're talking about traffic and you're talking about why a lot of things in traffic suck, none of those are rules. They're like rules of thumb, right? It's not really
guidelines.
It's not really we're going to give you a ticket. Not all rules end in we're going to kill you if you don't pull over and let us give you a ticket. Like, seriously, not all rules end in that.
Yeah, it's not a law.
You don't have to make a law out of it.
It's common
you follow
courtesy.
The general traffic rule. So if somebody flashes their lights at you whenever you're driving along and you see somebody flashing their lights at you, it's either A, they're trying to get your attention to show you something, or B, they need you to get over, which most of the time they need you to get over. So if you get over and they pull next to you and they roll down their window, then they're trying to get your attention.
Especially if they got a gun in their hand.
Oh, yeah. Well,
that's the LA stuff. Get kind of crazy out there.
Well, yeah, that is the capital of what do they call it?
Road rant.
Road rage. Yeah. Road rage.
I'm ranting. They're raging.
Yeah. Road rage.
So I just had to get that off of my chest.
Yeah.
But I'm curious as what kind of traffic it gets, because I did have a thought of doing a regular program on, let's just get in and talk about the nuts on the freeway, because there's both sides, but there are some rules of thumb. Like if someone is tailgating you and they're pissed off because you're going too slow, so they get closer to you, what does that mean? What are you trying to do? Especially if it's like a 2-lane highway.
Are you trying to make them nervous? Are you trying to make them get over? Like, what are you trying to do?
Anything.
If you want them to get over, you flash your lights. Maybe give them a little honk so they see that you're flashing your lights at them.
That's another thing.
If you really need to.
I think horns should have 2 sounds to them. There should be a beep beep sound. There should be a bah bah sound.
Yeah, there should be a hello, how are you? And then there should be the fucking stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah, there should be an excuse me sound and a get out of the fucking way sound.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not even just the get out of the way. It's really, I mean, if you're blaring your horn that way, then really it's a kind of like, you're about to kill someone, or you're going to kill me, or you need to get out of the way, or because, I've been trying to get past you for the last 2 miles, or something.
Yeah, sometimes just let people get over there.
Right. Well, that's where the flashing lights come in.
And putting on your horn for 2-3 minutes isn't going to do it.
That ain't gonna help. That's just gonna make somebody pissed off.
Okay, we got to get out of this vortex. Get into something else. But I wanted to do that and normally we talk about spirituality and health and wellness and positive things, but this little incident happened to me. So let's segue into that. Why does it irritate me?
Because it makes you feel like you're having your time
It wasn't
stolen.
my way. That's part of it, probably. Yeah, she's stealing my time by being in my way because it's my freeway. I pay taxes.
Or slowing you down. So you have to
Slowing
spend
down
more
my
time doing
energy.
something you don't want
But
to
I
be
wasn't
doing.
even that big of a hurry. I mean, I get here in good enough time.
We're all in a hurry when we're on the road, though.
And if I would just chilled out, she would have cut in front of the other guy, not me.
Yeah.
But I was slow. Why don't I just chill out and let her do her dumb stuff?
See, being in a car is one of those moments where being in the moment doesn't really help you, because being in the moment in a car is about going fast. Because think about it. None of us can run 35 miles an hour. So our goal is to drive fast, even in a place where it's 35 miles an hour.
Well, now we're getting
The goal is to go fast.
Now we're getting back into our quantum physics and metaphysics and stuff. Because when you're in the car, you're not moving at all in the car.
Right. Everything's moving around you.
The
car is
through
moving.
space.
You're not moving.
But you're stuff in the car. So
The
it's a matter
car
of
is moving
perspective.
through space.
So there I was, sitting in my car, not moving at all. And then a little old lady lefty getting me in all riled up. I'm over it. Now I need therapy.
It is also the other thing that's difficult about a car is that if you're stuck inside the car, right? It's not like you can go, I'm being stressed. Let's mellow out. Meditate.
I do that at red lights. I chill out. But I think the thing inside of a car is you got your own space, and that's why people think they're like tough. I'm in my own car.
Yeah, you can express your emotions freely.
Right.
So you're like, fuck you!
Yeah, you can get all violence and stuff.
And then you get out of the car and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, you could hear that.
I've seen some of those videos on YouTube where a guy jumps out of the car. Okay, buddy, get out of the car. And then he gets out of the car. He's like 6 foot tall. And then there's two other guys that get out and they're 6'6". Whoops, sorry.
Oh, man.
Okay, I've
got a lot of funny stories about that, but I'll have to tell them offline because they're about a family member.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well,
So we'll do that sometime. I might share them on Myco Shift sometime, though.
Well, now they know. If they see our videos, they'll, Casey, what are you doing talking about me? We should talk about some other stuff. We had a conversation about the women's group and the men's group, and I had a meeting today with Dan Gorbanow, who is a guy that I used to do some work with him, and he's got a men's group thing that he's doing, and he's got a book that he co-opted with some other people, and he wants to do some kind of men's thing.
Yeah.
We're talking about that because there's a lot of women's groups. The women are coming together in the age of Aquarius and all that kind of stuff.
Women love to come together.
Feminine energy
pretty natural.
They work better. But maybe the men don't come together because there's not a place for them to do it. Because in our space, we don't need a harpist and, like hors d'oeuvres and all that stuff.
Right.
We want a foosball table and maybe
we used to have a lot of places to come together back in the day. Like, it was really common. It wasn't until the 90s that it all got taken away. But it was slowly but surely all the men's places got taken away. And then all the women's places continued and then continued to expand. So, like, think about it. The YMCA was only men until the mid 90s. Mm-hmm. We had a whole bunch of women that got angry about it. And then there was a specific thing that ended up happening where they sued the YMCA because they were like, oh, that's sexist. You can't do that.
And they started the YWCA.
But they already had the YWCA. The YWCA was already out there. What they did is the YMCA, they sued the YMCA. YMCA and YWCA are two different organizations. And whenever they sued the YMCA had to include women. So
why did they do that? Why would they have what does YMCA stand for? Youth, Men's Community
Young Men's.
The Young Men's Community
Community Association, yeah.
And then they have it's kind of the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts thing. I don't know why they do that.
Yeah, the YWCA and the YMCA, and it was basically the YMCA. Like, If you ever listen to the song, the YMCA, have you ever paid attention to like the actual words?
Kind of, but not really.
It's young men. If you need a place to go, young men. And it's talking about young men, and it's talking about them not having a place or traveling and then showing up at a place because they're trying to look for work and they're traveling to go find work somewhere because they couldn't find work where they were coming from, and being able to actually stay at the Y for a while. So
Like a
the
hostel.
YMCA, yes, the YMCA was originally set up for at-risk youth, at-risk young men, to keep them away from gangs and violence. And the whole entire point was to give them a safe space to express themselves. And and that's kind of what I think everybody forgot about as they started removing a lot of the men's organizations. You know, they removed a lot of the men's organizations, and all because they were saying that they were sexist, but really it's just like with women. It's actually no different. Men need a place where they feel safe to express themselves, and they have to be able to express themselves in ways that they understand. It doesn't matter if no one else understands it. It doesn't matter if women don't understand it. None of that matters. What matters is that they need a place to safely express themselves and a place where they're not going to be judged, right?
Right.
So having men have men's safe space and having women have women's safe space, women understand why they need safe space, but they don't understand why men need safe space. But it's the same exact reasoning.
Well, totally. There's things that men want to do, and there's things that women want to do, and it's two different energies, two different personalities, two different vibes, two different everything.
It is.
And yes, there's a spectrum, but there's a line between the two, and there's feminine, masculine, and masculine, feminine, and
Right.
all that stuff. And it is nice to have your own. So you're saying that
And
the
keeping the violence out
YWCA
of
and
it
the
is important too.
YMCA are not similar at all?
They were started for the same organizational purposes,
There.
but they are different organizations.
Yeah, just like the Girl Scouts of America and the Boy Scouts of America, but they're kind of
Exactly.
things.
They're different organizations, and
Which
they do
makes
their own
sense because
things.
they're two different things.
Right.
What was it? I saw a thing on, speaking of that kind of stuff, I saw a thing on Facebook about how to please a woman. And there's all these things about buy her flowers and take her out to dinner and tell her how much you love her and tell her how beautiful she is and how well she looks in that dress. That's how you please a woman. And the way you please a man is you come naked, bring food.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of permutations of that, but yeah, I mean, that is basically it. Like, you know, it's so funny. Like, you know, sometimes silence, that's another thing. Like, sometimes a guy literally just needs to veg out. They need their silence. They just kind of just need to be. And, you know, like, I live in a house with 7 children. Well, okay. The oldest child doesn't currently live with us, but 6 children. That's still 6 children. One of them is an infant that constantly needs to be held. The other one is a 2-year-old who basically constantly wants to be cuddled. And the other one is a 4-year-old who feels ousted because the 2 younger ones want to constantly cuddle him, which means that it takes up both parents on a regular basis. So even if you double up and the one parent is working and the other parent has to be like, have 2 children on them, and the third one is like, well, I want to do something too, and it's like, well, okay, go help your mom. I don't want to help your mom. I want to sit with you. And it's like, I only have 2 legs to sit on. So by the end of the day, like, I'm like, I'm just gonna kind of just do my thing.
Yes.
And Elizabeth goes, oh, don't you want to go to bed with me? And don't you want to talk to me? And don't you want to do this? And I'm like, I want to say no, but I'm not going to say no because I know where that leads.
You know better than to
honey.
say no.
And then I go in there and I wait for her to fall asleep because it literally takes 5 minutes. But now I'm stuck in bed because if I get out of bed, she notices. If I'm in bed and I watch something on my phone, she notices because of the light. But if I wait just long enough and then I turn it just so, I can read on my phone and I can veg out. So that's what I end up doing half the time. And she just doesn't understand it. She goes, I guess you just don't like falling asleep with me. Sometimes she says that. She actually understands. Don't get me wrong. She totally understands. But at the same token, when you have that many children and you're working and you're running businesses, which we run several businesses, and you're doing all of that, and so that means you have to do networking, which you don't like the word of networking,
No,
but
I don't like
yeah,
that.
but you do all of that, and by the end of the day, you're just exhausted, and you haven't really spent any real time together all day long. You've been managing a bunch of fires, and you're doing it together, but you really haven't spent time together the whole entire time.
See, it's interesting how male and female, they will actually meld together really well because the guy just wants to say nothing and the woman just wants to be heard. So all you have to do is say nothing and pretend like you're actually listening, and she'll be happy because she gets to talk and be heard. She thinks you're hearing her.
See,
I
now
know
there's a
that.
lot of women who would get mad by that statement.
I know, that's why I said it. We're trying to get traffic on this frickin' site.
Oh, that's funny. That is so funny. But
So
no, like
comment below.
it's comical because, like, there are a lot of men who do that, and they're not doing it to be mean. They're really not doing it to be mean. Their brain is tired. When a woman's brain gets tired, she needs to go and talk about what's going on to let it out of her head so she can go to sleep. When a man gets to that point, they go, done, shut off. Okay, I'm just going to stare at the TV, look at sports. Yay. Something like that, right? Let's go play pool. Why? Because I don't have to think.
It's brainless, yeah.
It's a good skill. Let's go throw a ball. Why? Because we're not talking. Throw a ball. Good catch. That's it.
It's two different definite energies. And if people understood that more, sometimes it gets out of hand and you wonder, what in the hell?
Oh, yeah. You fall too much into the one instead of the other.
I'm old enough where it's kind of like, whatever. It is what it is.
Right.
Like, even just
I'm
aside
getting
from
there.
the gender thing, some things that happen to me, it happens to all of us in the grocery store. Why do they leave your cart in the middle? Why don't you pull it to the side and look at the milk?
Right.
Why do you stop at the bottom of the escalator and look at your phone? There's people behind you. Boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Some things like, why do you do that?
Yeah.
Why did you take that shoe and put it over there and the other one over there? Why don't you put them side by side over by the door?
There are times, though, where some of those weirdnesses are unavoidable. Like, for example, so I go and I pick up my mom from the airport, right? And I'm wrangling two children. So I have my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old, right? And I have them. They want to run in different things. They all want to help because it's their Oma and they haven't seen their Oma in a while. And they all want to help. So they're like, I'm going to carry this bag, which is too big for them, by the way. Right. Oh, I'm going to go carry this bag, which is also too big because, we can't have the 2-year-old holding the bag that's like 3 times her size. It just has to be 2 times her size. Now, the 4-year-old would have been able to handle the one that was two times my 2-year-old size. But, then one of us would have to hold the bag along with the 2-year-old, and the 2-year-old is like, no, I want to do it. So you help them, but they're both have ones that are too big for them, right? And so they're carrying them along, and they're going along, and you're like, okay, all right, we're going to go up the escalator now. And they both freeze. And you're right in the middle, and everybody goes, and they stop because now the whole line is stopped, and everybody's going, trying to get around you, but there's 2 of them. And you're trying to go, okay, let me help you up. And even though that you have your mom there, that's their Oma. Even though you have the mom there, right? That's not helping, right? So I have my mom there, and I'm like, okay, let's go up. And my mom, usually by the end of traveling, because of the cold and the air pressure change and everything else, she's got her arm in like a little sling thing, right? And she's like, can't really use that arm. So she's got her one arm that she's trying to do everything with. And she's got an extra bag. Why? Because my mom can never travel light. So I have bags. She has bag. There's 2 kids. They both have bags. I could hold all of it. I'd be fine. But they won't let me because they're upset. And now we're all stuck at the escalator, and I have to figure out how to get us both on the escalator. Come on, let's go. So finally, that's what I do. Come on. And I just walk forward.
Just take the first step. The first step, that's all you got to do is take the first step.
It's so funny.
Well, that's a good way of looking at it. And laughing at it, and it's kind of funny instead of getting upset.
Yeah, I don't get so upset about that one. That one doesn't get me upset because,
I mean, almost everything. Everything is. I mean, some people that can't take a joke about stuff, it's kind of bizarre. Everything's kind of funny
yeah,
if you
it
really
is.
look at it that way. I mean, I've done that where you wake up and you stub your toe
Yeah,
and it hurts and you want to start cursing and get all mad and start throwing shit. Or you can laugh because why does that hurt? I mean,
right,
what difference does it make whether you laugh at it or cry?
right.
It's all the same
I,
hurt.
I do have a little childish temper every once in a while. I really do. There is a part of me that every once in a while decides to just go, blah!
There's that little button push thing.
Yeah.
I had a business partner like that. He was the kind of guy that could push buttons and he knew how to do it. And it's kind of like gritting your teeth. And quite honestly, I almost killed him. I almost killed him. Because it's one of those little things and they know what they're doing.
Right. Right.
But you wonder, why does that irritate a person? Why does that, some little thing that just flips a switch?
Because it's the right buttons. It's the buttons where they know that you're vulnerable. They've learned enough about you to know about you. And then they decide to push all the little tiny buttons that bother you. So it means that they know you well enough that they know enough about how you feel and about how to manipulate your feelings. And then they choose to use it to make you feel bad or to irritate you or to make you angry. And that is what actually I think makes people angry even more.
And for what end?
I don't know. Sometimes people just want to piss people off. I don't know. My ex-wife used to love pushing my buttons.
I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. That kind of thing.
Oh yeah, my son does that to Charlotte all the time.
Of course.
She's the third girl, and she was the baby until William came along. So whenever William came along, she was a little jealous. So there was this whole thing that went back and forth between the two of them all the time. And William absolutely adored Charlotte until Charlotte just kept pushing those buttons. And now it's just literally constant button pushing in the house. Yeah, it's hilarious. But I'll tell you one that actually did get me upset.
Oh, good.
So this morning, because if those of you who are not in Minnesota don't know, we had a dumping of snow, right? And it was a pretty big dumping of snow. If it didn't warm up, it would have been even more snow because it then started to rain afterwards. So it got really heavy snow. And then I watched a little clip that my wife posted of recording my kids playing, right? And then I noticed what was inside the picture, and I went, oh, they were playing with my shovels. And sure enough, I go out to get ready for my appointment this afternoon. I can't find any of the shovels. They're underneath the snow somewhere. I can't find any of them. Literally all of them. They've broken. I have gone through so many shovels. You have to understand, the kids love shovels. They love to shovel the snow. They love to play with the snow. And they should. They should love to play with it. However, they should also love to put it back. And they don't. And that one drives me nuts because then I'm trying to get somewhere. And, even if you give yourself a half an hour to shovel or whatever you need, right? You go out there and now you have to spend 15 minutes looking for your shovels. And now you're 15 minutes behind. So even if you give yourself that extra 15 minutes, it's going to take you half an hour to find the shovels.
I'm a big advocate of putting things back where you got them, because then you know how to find them when you need to use them again.
Exactly. And it's not like it's even hard. I put them literally right next to the door of the house. So they're always findable. They're always usable. As soon as you step out, you grab the shovel and you go, chok, 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 as you're heading out towards the cars. Does that work?
Yeah, I got something in my right pocket, something in my left pocket, and it's always in the same spot.
Yeah, I'm very much that way. I'm a creature of habit as well.
It just makes it easier.
My wife, on the other hand, she loses her keys or her purse or whatever it is on
That's
a very
because they put
regular
them in
basis.
different places.
She puts it in different places all the time. I have now learned the 6 different places that she leaves her purse and her keys. So now at least I know all 6 places to go check whenever she misplaces them. It's funny. So whenever we first got together, she had this habit of leaving her keys in the door. She would unlock it
Oh,
and then she would leave it in there, sometimes even overnight. She would just leave the keys in the door. And one day I get up and I'm like looking for the keys because I had to go pick up somebody from the airport. And I'm going and I'm looking and I'm like, where'd you put the keys? I don't know. Did you check the door? I'm like, why would you think go check the door and not think of going to go check the door? You realize we lock the door at night so we don't have people intruding into our house because we don't want that happening, right?
right. What's the purpose of the key? Give you something to do when you get home?
So at this point, I totally want to get one of those that's just a thumbprint, but then they break down all the time. Like we have some neighbors here, and in our studio, they just ended up getting, they just ended up starting. It's a new chiropractor that just moved in across the hall, and since they've been here twice, they've had troubles with their electronic door lock. I'm like, oh, those electronic door locks are even having problems.
I don't like all that stuff.
Right. Well, they're also hackable.
I would like to
which
be able
leaves
to
a
just leave the
problem.
door and just get people to realize they're not supposed to come in because it's not their house.
Right. I have friends that don't know how to go by that. Luckily, I have a big dog.
What do you mean, they just
And
walk into your house?
oh yeah,
That's not a good idea.
right. Luckily, I have a big dog, and and that scares them. And then also one time, I heard somebody run into the house one time. They'd like opened up the door, and I heard everything happen. And I was in the other room, and I didn't know who it was. And I came running out with my sword bared. And when that happened, that kind of stopped them. So yeah, it was kind of funny.
Okay, what should we talk about now? We
I
got a
don't
lot of
know.
time left because we have got another half an hour.
That took a lot less time than I thought it did. Yeah.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of traffic stuff, and then we got into gender specifics. This would be good. This is going to be good for the algorithms, I think.
Oh yeah, it'll be very good for the algorithms. I think we're definitely going to get a lot of people who are going to be all pissed off about our opinion about that. But you know what? I want to hear your opinion. Why don't you leave a bunch of information if you disagree with my opinion? I would be happy to hear your opinion.
Well, they might not disagree. Actually, they might go, you know what? I'm with you.
Maybe they agree with my opinion. Maybe either way.
I agree. The
Either way,
zipper merge.
leave comments, and that way we can have an ongoing discussion. That would be fun. I'll even participate. Brad here will definitely go, oh, hey, we're getting comments. You should go check them out. And I will definitely go and participate.
And share it so other people can get mad.
Right. Share the
Share
anger.
your frustrations.
Share the mad. It's catching. You have to be a little crazy.
We're just joking around about all this stuff too. We're not really that violent to people.
Right.
He may draw his sword, but he will not behead you.
If somebody's breaking into my house, I would.
Oh, he might. So be cautious.
I definitely would. There is more than one time. There was one time actually where somebody was rattling my door, like they were trying to get into my door, and they like pushed against it several times. And like I didn't have the reaction that most people have, where they're like, "Oh my God, call the police," or "You better go away," that type of thing. Nope. I very calmly stood up. I looked over at my soon-to-be ex-wife, and not my current wife. My current wife's awesome. No, my actual ex-wife. She was.
Yeah,
I wanted to clarify.
I
wanted to clarify. Yeah, so she was at the time, it was my wife who was my soon-to-be ex-wife. So, and I said, I'll be right back, very calmly, and I walked into the other room, and I took my sword down, and I grabbed my sword, and I went over to the door, and I unlocked it, and I said, I'm going to count to 3. And by the time I count to 3, you better be gone, because if I'm opening up this door and you're standing there and you're not, rattling my door and everything, and you're not supposed to be here, you're losing a limb. I said 1, 2, and flung the door open. And needs to say, the outside door was actually open. And I did see people running down the street who did not absolutely at 2 o'clock in the morning belong on my front door
But
trying to rattle it open.
nowadays, these people that are doing that kind of stuff could possibly have weapons as well. And that's a creepy thing about all that. I have another. Did I ever talk to you about my idea of creating it as a sport?
What?
To involve criminals in a game. And
yeah. I think we talked about that.
Yeah, by them coming onto the property, there's signage in your yard that says, by you coming on this property, you have given permission and you have accepted that you're playing the game.
Yeah. They're like, what game?
The game is, if you come onto the property, you may be captured. It's a capture game.
It's like capture the flag.
You capture the criminal.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do that, you decide you're doing it, and it's end up being a legal thing, because this is my property, and the person that walked onto my property has given permission, because that's the sign says. Got a sign right there. It says no trespassing. If you join this property or come onto this property, you've acknowledged that you're playing the game, and the game is to capture you any way I can. I'm not going to harm you. I'm not going to physically hurt, but I'm going to catch you with a snare or squirt crazy glue on your tennis shoes, and then I'm going to put you in the cage in the backyard, and we're going to play with you. We'll bring you meals and stuff, just like we feed our dogs.
And then sooner or later you let them go.
Yeah. And I figured this could be done first as a city thing, and then you end up involving other cities where you have regionals, and there's a score.
There's a score for how many criminals you have.
There's a scoreboard and see who wins. And then there's state competition. And eventually ends up being like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's funny. You're going in, you're trying to steal other people's criminals because you want your score to be higher.
No, you don't want to steal other people's criminals. You just lure the criminals in by leaving your door open. Or leaving your car with the windows down and a briefcase full of money on the passenger seat.
Oh, that's hilarious.
You put bait. You create bait.
You hook up the taser to the ground on the body of the car, so that whenever they reach out, they touch the car.
Techniques for that. There'd be like nets that can catch them with the car going out and stuff. And just leave the Prius sitting out there with the catalytic converter. If they want to partake in stealing the catalytic converter, you can set that decoy out there. And just like they hunt ducks and stuff, and they put the decoys out. Probably even use like other bait.
I watched this video of these of this group of people that were clearly trying to steal catalytic converters and didn't know what they were doing, and they tried to steal a catalytic converter from a Tesla, and they're like arguing over it. Like it showed on like a Ring camera, and they were like, "Where's the catalytic converter on this thing?"
That was probably one of them stupid YouTube fake videos.
It's possible.
Nobody can be that stupid.
Well, I mean,
or maybe they thought, let's take the battery.
Could have been.
I heard it's worth $10,000. Let's take the battery.
They're so huge. Those batteries are so big.
Yeah, don't they weigh like a couple tons?
I don't think they weigh a couple tons, but they're big, and there's a lot of them. It's not just one. There's like a bunch. There's a whole series of batteries under on the flooring of the thing. They're big. Yeah, it's crazy. But that's funny. That is totally funny. Yeah, there was.
There's some other.
There's definitely some.
There's some other programs that are more serious things that I had. I hooked up with a guy. I use we're on this platform called StreamYard that I use. And by the way, if you're interested in using StreamYard, there's a link below. It's my affiliate link, and I earn a commission if you want to run a live stream. But I connected with this guy on StreamYard Collab. He's the guy that does meditation. And by strange coincidence, he does a thing in, I think it's called Guanacaste, Costa Rica, which is where Rhythmia is, there in Costa Rica. I was talking with him today, and we we're talking about all these different things. And he liked my idea of the peace police. Did I share that with you?
Yes.
The peace police. where or we call it peace patrol, because people probably don't like the police thing. They're defunded anyway, so we have to use patrol. We make some money. It's rewarding people for doing good as opposed to punishing them for doing bad, because we don't want to send people to college, criminal college, which is prison, and then they learn more stuff about Teslas don't have catalytic converters. They learn that kind of stuff in college, in criminal college.
Right.
So instead, send them and reward them with some positive vibes. There's that. And then I have this other thing called the piece of art. And what it was a art contest where artists can enter their pieces of art, whether it be a drawing or a painting or photography or whatever, of what they believe peace is, what it looks like. And then the public votes on it, and there's a first, second, and third prize, and first prize gets to have their piece of art on the website for the month, and the piece of art then gets put on coffee mugs and phone covers and keychains and all that stuff, and then money's generated from the sales of that, and the artist gets a percentage of that.
Oh, cool.
That's sold. So then they also get a grand prize. So that was another concept that I haven't implemented yet. Someday maybe I'll pull it together.
Interesting.
Peace related. But my friend, I can't remember his name now. Good friend of mine. I just met him today. I can't remember his name. Something senior, but I'll remember it. It's already up on the. Okay, now what do you want to talk about? I ran out of juice.
Well, I think the whole playing a game thing with the criminals could be a lot of fun. Yeah, I think along those lines, you could talk about rehabilitation. That would be interesting.
Well, that's the idea. If
was
it's a
supposed to be a
game
big
and they realize that they're
idea.
having fun in this game, maybe you could convert it over and make it a real game and not do it maliciously and angry and stuff like that. Because
Right.
they got other football. You wonder, why does that person want to steal someone's catalytic converter? Or why do they want to break into a house and invade a house?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that in their heart?
Right.
So I like to look at the deeper thing. Somehow they were brought up to do that kind of thing. Because it doesn't make sense. There's a big profit margin in stolen material, stolen goods.
Well, there is a big profit margin, zero versus
There's high risk. And what's unfortunate is sometimes
low
the
reward,
risk,
though.
well, if you sell it, it's a big reward.
No, I mean, you'd have to get away with it too. That's the reason why theft is not as common as it used to be back in the 1970s and 80s. I mean, basically everybody.
I thought it
has
was common. I
cameras
thought
and
they're
stuff.
walking into Target stores and walking out with shopping carts full of stuff for.
There
$9.
is that, but that's a different kind of theft. But
Well, there could
that's
be
not private property.
There could be a private division. There could be a corporate division for the game too.
I don't like that idea. Corporations are funny. They would figure out a way to monetize it, and I think we already
There
have
is
the
a way to-
corporate division.
There is
The
a way to monetize. There's nothing wrong with
The
monetizing.
corporate division is prison.
That's true. They have monetized that. haven't
They do. They totally monetized it. They monetized the heck out of it, man. It's totally wrong too. You know, the going back to rehabilitation. So there was a bunch of studies. Ram Dass, he wasn't known by Ram Dass at the time, and Timothy Leary. They did a whole thing on recidivism, and they ended up giving people psychedelics as part of their rehab, and they had them come to these classes, and then they gave them the psychedelics before they got let out, and they were taking like the hard and violent criminals who were going to get out, and they were checking their recidivism rates as they were letting these criminals out as compared to other prisons, right, with similar crimes that they were getting let out for and everything else. Well, the recidivism rate, like, they were doing phenomenal work. Like, basically the recidivism rate went way down. So the recidivism, for anyone here who doesn't understand what that is, that's whenever you let somebody out of prison and then they go back into prison within a certain time frame. And most of the studies, they usually study within 2 years and within 5 years. Those are the two markers. And usually
Recidivism is imprisonment.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. That's basically it. So they're measuring that rate. So anyways, so they were noticing that the criminals that they were treating with the psychedelics, that it was helping like tremendously. Now, this is well documented. You can actually go read about what happened with this. So basically, what happened is that Timothy Leary went back in there and he was like showing them his research, and he was showing them like, look, we're onto something. This is really amazing. Look, we're actually taking hardened criminals and we're rehabilitating them. And whenever they go back into society, they want to integrate into society. They really care. Look, they're actually learning to care about other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the and basically the person in charge of the prison, I don't know, I can't remember the word, commandant,
Warden.
Yeah, warden. Thank you. That's exactly the word I was looking for.
How did I know that?
I don't know. I should know it. Yeah, I should know it. My mom went to prison twice, so you'd think I'd remember that one. But the prison, yeah. So, anyways, so the head honcho at the prison goes, hold on, just right there. Come here. And then he pulled open this chart. He showed them this giant chart, and he was showing them all the numbers. And then he said, look at this plan for the expansion of the prison. We can hold twice as many prisoners in the same space. Look at all of this way that we make sure that the prisoners can actually earn a living. So that way they're going and they're doing all of this work and, getting paid pennies on the dollar. And, it subsidizes all of their work here. So basically, privatizing and marketing prison labor, right? And look at all of these like high-tech prisons that we're planning on rolling out. Look at all these expansion areas we're planned out and everything else. And he said, yeah, so we're not going to be needing your services anymore. We can handle all of it. And he's like, I thought the point was to rehabilitate them. He goes, the point was for us to be able to handle the number of prisoners that we had. And that was it. Like, so prisons are in it to keep their prisoners. It makes the money.
What is this? Yes, I understand. It is a money-making system.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
We as people on the outside, because prisoners don't get the vote. In most states, prisoners don't get the vote. So that is one of the first things that is taken away from them whenever they're in prison, is that they have their voting rights taken away. If you commit a federal crime, a lot of times you don't ever get your voting rights back. And anything that is a drug crime is considered to be a federal crime. So you have to basically petition to ever get your voting rights back or be pardoned to get your voting rights back. So we as individuals who have never been to prison, who think it's wrong, need to utilize our voting power in order to basically force these people and these industries to come into compliance, because there's no other way that it's going to happen. I mean,
yes, there is.
It's
sure there is.
kind of sad that they keep on doing that.
What if you created a program? You said that the psychedelics help. So what if there was a way to get people that were playing in the criminal world to do the psychedelics and say, you know what, I quit crime, I'm not going to prison, and now the prison system doesn't have any customers anymore.
Right, but once psychedelics are legal, I think that is going to be an option for them. I really do. However, at this point, they don't have any options like that, because
they do too. You can go to Costa Rica to do it, or Peru.
They're criminals. They can't.
No, they're not yet criminals. I'm talking about getting them before they commit crimes, when they're dabbling in it and they haven't got caught yet.
Sure.
Before they get into the system.
We as individuals, if we are catching people who are committing crime before they get caught by the police, we can absolutely do that.
They're caged up in my backyard because I caught them in the game.
That's right. And now the game's being played.
You sit out there with iced tea and talk to it and say, okay, John, your name is John, right? You shouldn't have came into my house because that's not your house.
Yeah.
Drink this.
I really think it should be mandatory that they allow these, not that it's mandatory for the prisoners, mandatory that they allow these programs to go back into the prisons, because it's ridiculous that they ever.
Well, I think it would be good, but it wouldn't be good for the business. So why would they do
It's
that?
not good for the business.
So why
It's
would they
not.
do that? So I'm saying, why play that game? Why not create another game? Not my
Right.
game, but maybe there's a game of, okay, we're doing a thing for people that are sort of playing in the criminal world and want to take a retreat. All expenses paid. We're taking you to this
Right.
cool place. It's sponsored. Ain't costing you a dime.
Right.
Get on the plane. We're going to go. Because I've got a criminal friend that's no longer a criminal, but he was telling me that when he was doing crime, he didn't know about the idea of doing a business.
Right.
He didn't grasp that idea.
They didn't know how
now
to do
he's
it.
got a successful
Right.
business and he's not doing the crime thing. He didn't know any better.
Right, exactly. There's a lot of skill sets that if you live in that kind of a life, like, I mean, I grew up in the crap. I absolutely had a lot of people in my life who did not escape uh, going down that route. And really, the bottom line is that a lot of those people just don't know. They don't know what they don't know. They have no clue that that kind of life even exists. They
And they
actually
got the
have an
skills.
idea of what
If they
the
know
life
how to break
is.
into a car and know how to pop a lock, they can start a business called Pop a Lock and they can start opening people's cars.
Yeah, right. Exactly. They could seriously, they could do that. Of
Yes, they
course,
already have skill.
you're not allowed to. Yeah, there's a whole thing behind, like, you have to have to be a locksmith. You have to go through background checks and all kinds of stuff. So if you're not a criminal yet, that's a good way to go. If you are a criminal, though, that's not a good
You
way
say
to
you
go.
can't do it via locksmith. You gotta.
You can't be a locksmith if you're a criminal. If you
This
have a
person
criminal
isn't a
record.
criminal yet. They're just committing
Right.
crimes. They're not a
If you have
documented
been
criminal yet.
if you have been institutionalized, let me
Yeah.
put it like that.
That's what I'm saying.
If you have been institutionalized,
You got to catch them before they cross that line.
yeah. Yeah.
Am I a criminal because I had DWIs?
Well, am I a criminal because I do psychedelics?
I didn't know you did.
I have in the past.
Now you tell me. We got to go.
I have in the past. but you know, it was past,
But I didn't get caught.
well past, it was well past the
What do they call that?
I say this
7 years?
term all the time. Well, it's 3 years actually for this, but yeah, it depends on the crime, on what the statute of limitations is. Yeah. We were talking about that the other day because there was somebody who they were talking on TikTok, and they were talking about how they were being harassed by this and that, and I called BS. And my wife is like, "Why are you calling BS?" I said, "Because the statute of limitations on that is only 3 years, and she's saying that it happened 7 years ago, and she's being harassed now. And the statute of limitations is 3 years on that. There's no way they're harassing her for that. She could literally sue their department. Even if they caught her for something else, it doesn't matter. It's fruit of the poisonous tree." And I went down this whole entire list of this legal thing that goes, and I said, "That's total BS." And then she goes, "Oh, come on, you don't know that. Statute of limitation, 3 years." So it was really funny. So it was one of those things. But I mean, it's true though. I really think there needs to be a better way to be able to handle it. I mean, this is a hot topic. You really want to get a lot of hits? This is a hot topic. We have more prisoners in this country than a lot of countries have citizens.
I know, because we got a system. But what I'm getting at is, instead of trying to dismantle the system, I'm saying let them do their game and start your own game over here.
Yeah.
And build your own thing. And catch the criminals before they get arrested by the police and go into that system. You get them over here and let's go play pool and have some fun and enjoy our lives and go to Costa Rica. And
considering that they're defunding police here in Minneapolis, like just kind of doing a lot of that kind of stuff. I don't know where it's at right now because I haven't been following the politics of it here in Minneapolis, but I think it's still there, right? Where they're defunded here in Minneapolis.
I haven't followed it either. That's kind of a weird thing.
It's so weird. It's so weird. I stopped following it for a little while. And then I picked up like a little hint here and there. But yeah, I mean, it's all backlash, just so everybody knows. If you don't know anything about it and you're not from Minneapolis, you won't know. It's backlash from the George Floyd events, and essentially people are sick of it, and they're saying like, well, we just don't need the police. And the truth of the matter is that, you know, I would agree on some level. However, now you don't have a way of catching the criminals either, which is the only job they're actually supposed to have, is catching the criminals after they commit a crime.
Well, that's why I don't.
We make too many things a crime. That's the problem.
Well, the problem is you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. Because that's what happens is they go in, we need to fix this. We're going to fix this. We're going to fix this. You can't. It's broken. Start over.
Yeah.
You can't fix something. It's broken.
Right. Well,
if you do fix, you got to use duct tape, or you got to weld it, or you got to tape it, or glue it, or something like that. No, you got to throw it out and create a new one.
I'm really not for reprogramming. Like, I don't like that either. But if you give somebody options, and you give them an option, and you're like, hey, here's a medicine that will help you see things differently. Here's other options of being able to live. Here's these options. Okay, now you have a choice. Now, if they go out there and they offend again, and they're, you know, offending willfully, then that's a different story.
And you still got to figure out, why did that happen?
There's always more to ask why, but there does come a point where you just have to stop the problem. I mean, it does happen.
Well, it's tough to stop the problem because on the way here, I committed a crime.
Speeding?
You bet.
Okay.
I was going well over the speed limit, and I'll admit it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my disclaimer is I'm lying. Now figure it out.
Yeah, good job.
So nobody knows what really happened. Did I really commit a crime? Well, nobody pulled me over and said, oh my God, you got marijuana in the trunk. And why is there a dead body in your glove box? Because he was small and he fit.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. You said something that was so absurd that at least everybody would know it was totally BS.
You don't know. You don't know.
You know, marijuana.
My wife will tell you
marijuana in the trunk. That's funny. Cannabis. I always call it cannabis. Cannabis in the trunk wouldn't actually.
Why? What's the difference of marijuana?
Marijuana is a term.
We got 1 more minute.
Sweet. Then I'll be quick. Marijuana is a term that was used for propaganda. It was used because it sounds Hispanic, and it was basically the Mexican word for the cannabis plant. They called it marijuana. And so they used marijuana because it was a word that allowed for them to play on the prejudices of the American people after the Mexican-American War. Because there were still people around that remembered the Mexican-American War. Hemp and cannabis were always the terms. We made everything out of hemp. We were the largest exporter of hemp in the entire world. And everybody wonders why we ended up sinking into the Great Depression and everything else. Well, a big part of our economic collapse had to do with the fact that over a third of our gross domestic product was hemp. Well over a third.
Well, it makes sense because you see those big bushes and growing in the good space where it grows good.
They're huge.
They're very big and bushy. And
they're giant. Some of them get like 14 feet tall. You can get these ones that look like trees, and they're big and round. And it's the pulp from in there that they do a lot of stuff with. And then they do a lot of stuff with the stems and all that kind of stuff. And they bash it up, and they make the rope that they make out of it is extremely strong. The clothing they make out of it is extremely strong. I mean, they even make a version of jeans out of it. You know, that's like what you got on.
What do they call it? Mary Jane's? Mary Jeans?
That would be a great name, Mary Jeans. Yeah, in case anybody out there needs a business idea, if you are currently making hemp jeans, Mary Jeans. Thank you. You're welcome. And you just need to say, these guys are great. You should watch them. That's the only thing we ask.
Right. That's copyright protection. We want some recognition more than a pat on the back.
Yeah.
As and not so much recognition, but acknowledgement.
Yeah.
You don't need to tell everybody. Just know that we gave you the idea. That's all we care
Oh, well,
about.
no. I prefer if you told everybody on only one level. One of the businesses that my wife and I run is a branding business. So, you know, I would prefer if you did share it so that way more traffic came my way. So that way, you know, I got more business in the long run.
I'd say it. Your authentic reflections.
That's right. Your authentic reflections, and the subdivision is your authentic brand.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep.
Google it. And that's an interesting name. I've been thinking about that how deep that is. That could be one of our episodes too. One of our topics is the authenticity. I think is a lot of people are missing. They
Yeah.
don't use their authentic photograph when they put stuff on. They don't use their authentic name. They hide,
Yeah.
and they're not being their authentic self.
Sure.
And I think that's important. That's what I'm going to go do is figure out my authentic self. Okay, it's 6:02.
All right.
Anything you want to say to sign it off, or should we just shut these guys up?
Mary Jeans heard it here first.
Peace, love, and happiness. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good, be kind, be nice. Did I say be nice?